Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Round Lake Area School District Board of Education on October 17th, 2022 at 7:01 p.m. in the Round Lake High School Media Center. If I can get started with a roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Miss Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Klingler?
Here.
All right, first up is our Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is an approval of meeting agenda. If I can get a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Larson, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes. Motion carries. We have an approved agenda. Just as a reminder, please make sure our phones are off the table and on silent. And first up on that agenda are our September Athletes of the Month.
Good evening, everybody. Our female athlete of the month, Relly Gomez from girls volleyball, had a scheduling conflict, so she'll be recognized at a later board meeting. Here to present our male athlete of the month for September is head boys soccer coach Hugo Tevez.
All right, this time I won't freeze. This month's athlete of the month is Georgie Morales. Ever since, since her Grays Lake Central game, he scored two beautiful goals. Those that follow us, Chicagoland Soccer is a paper or online where it's purchased through the schools and stuff like that. And obviously we don't go through them, but for them to write more of a story about our players and our school, and for them to name Georgie Player of the Game that week against Grays Lake Central, which was ranked number 2 in our state, and for us to beat them 4-1. Ever since then, Georgie has been phenomenal on the field, off the field, and he's only a sophomore. So I'll probably be here a couple more times in the next few years presenting him again. But also too, just recognizing him that in our conference, he was named NLCC Player of the Year as a sophomore. So he beat out some of these seniors that are, all-state players, but just the will and what he brings here for us. He was named Player of the Year for our conference, and again, Georgie Morales, Athlete of the Month for September.
All right, and our first communication to the board is the Organic Life presentation, number 1 of 3, and thank you for the lovely num-nums already.
So good evening, board. It was nice to see everyone downstairs enjoying some of Organic Life's meals. And just as a reminder, that is what we serve our students. That isn't any different than what the students would see. They don't see these soft drink beverages, but they do see the meals that are there. Also wanted to showcase some of the work that's been done with writing grants and the smoothies that I know Erica will be sharing. So Organic Life, just as a reminder, has been a very supported partner of Round Lake School District since 2018. They've not only supported us in the lunchroom with breakfast and lunch, but they've also supported us outside of school hours with the Pizza Challenge, also catering different events, whether it be for district administrators or the community. Did a nice event at the Civic Center last year with sampling different meals and opportunities for our community. And also they'll be partnering with us with the Illinois State Board of Education grant that we were awarded here this fall. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Eric Harlinski, Vice President of Organic Life. And we also have Melissa Bungie here, who is our on-site food service director, who is also a employee of Organic Life.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to an update as we kick off the school year 22-23. Just to begin, I have some data for you on participation of breakfast. Keep in mind that school started the middle of August, so the numbers might seem a little bit on the lower end for August, but that's only because it was half a month. So we did nearly 20,000 meals of breakfast in August and over 45,000 breakfast in September. Lunch was a little over 46,000 in August, and September was almost at 90,000 meals. And again, keep in mind, August was half a month. And so total meals sold, we have almost 66,000 breakfast and over 135,000 lunch for just half a month of August and the month of September. So we will definitely update you at the next meeting with numbers up to date. In addition to that, we've been providing snacks to the Early Child Care Center, and between AM and PM snacks, we have provided over 6,000 to those little kiddos. We have mostly fruits, vegetables, some fun emoji crackers, Go-Gurts, and granola bars, things like that. So this year we're lucky enough to receive another grant for the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. We were awarded funds for Ellis Beach, Murphy, Village, and Pleviac. So we were able to and are able to increase our consumption on fresh fruits and vegetables throughout the day for those students. And also introduce new and exciting, I would say, fruits and vegetables, seasonal ones when we can get them. Corn on the cob is one of those items that you might have seen as you were coming through the line today, but that was something exciting that we were able to provide for the kids. Our menus are posted on NutriSlice, which is essentially rlas.nutrislice.com. The link is over here, but there's a screenshot of what a menu item might look like. Parents, students, whoever, are able to access the menus online, and they're available in English and Spanish, but you could also click on a menu item and see the nutritional information and allergens available for that item, which is pretty neat. So this year is super exciting as we're back to normal. It's really nice to be able to see the kids eating in the cafeterias again. All lines and stations are open. Stir fry is always a big fan favorite for the kids. Breakfast sandwiches were a big hit this year. Elementary school have all of their choices available, which is too hot, too cold. It was limited during the COVID years, but we're excited that that's back to normal for the kids. Middle schools and high schools, like I mentioned, have all their stations available. So they have pizza, nachos, burgers, sandwiches, all the good fun stuff, and the daily special as well. So they have a lot to choose from. And of course, we have a la carte choices available for the middle school and high school kids as well too, which is nice that they're able to purchase chips and snacks and things like that that are smart snack compliant. And another super exciting opportunity we had this year was to receive a grant from the Midwest Dairy. And as you may have seen downstairs as you were walking through the line, we had an example of one of the immersion blenders that we were provided in order to produce the smoothies, which we will roll out beginning next week at the high school. So that will be super exciting. But it's a grant in order to increase the consumption of milk and yogurt through smoothies. So I think the kids will be super excited with that, and we're excited to try different flavors. Some other menu items that we are looking forward to is a boneless chicken wing bar, Nashville hot chicken, lots of other goodies that we'll have throughout the year. In addition to that, we are excited to continue student involvement this year with the elementary and middle school student focus groups. And the high school one is super exciting. We have a recipe development challenge coming up. It's an opportunity for high school students to create their own USDA recipe that we will submit to ISB, and they will be able to participate in a taste testing challenge event in spring 2023. So that is super exciting, and we'll definitely have more details in January as we start planning that and getting the kids involved. As always, we're such a proud supporter of Round Lake School District 116. Just wanted to share that we're part of the Round Lake High School Stadium sign. That looks amazing out there. But we always have been and will always continue to be a great partner. And we appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you for the opportunity. If anybody has any questions, let us know.
I don't have any questions, but Mr. Francisco said we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to, test and taste the food that are being served to our students, because I know we all hear feedback, either from our own kids and from others in the community. And I was actually telling Dr. Mendoza earlier, with the tenure I've had in the district as a student myself and my kids being students and, families, it definitely has been one of the best quality food programs we have seen.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
All right, next up are our fiscal 23 budget assumptions. And we had a chance to review that. Any questions for the administration in regards to?
I think we have one item before that, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Did we
you're
skip
right, I
something?
skipped. My bad. Backing up. Kindergarten student return. There we go. That's kind of important.
Yep, so I'll be taking this item, and I just want to say it was not our intent to plow through the slide deck. You've seen the slide deck before earlier in the year. You've also seen as kind of a high-level timeline. We put both of those documents in as backup information into the packet. Excuse me. This will be one of multiple board updates that we provide throughout the course of the next 2 years. I do want to provide a little bit of background. So I must be allergic to whatever was in that cookie. Starting to come over me. No, I'm fine. I don't need an EpiPen or anything. So as the board knows, our kindergarten teachers have been incredible the last 8 years. They have, several years ago, it was frankly right when I started in the district, the district made the decision to move our children to what turned out to be a very good partner. Certainly not ideal having our children attend school in Lake Villa, but we felt like they could get a better holistic learning experience with common space, larger classrooms. We certainly weren't meeting their needs. excuse me, with the existing facility. We're now, believe it or not, in our 8th year of having our children attend in Lake Villa. So we believe it's time to explore significantly and seriously getting them back. Just to call this out, the students will be attending Pleviac this year and next year. And then technically in the fall of 24, they will be, assuming there's no major hurdles, they will be attending school in our district boundaries. So as you know, when we have the opportunity to, when this is a fairly sizable change, I would say, and I think for us, we want to make sure that we're making the right decision. And you have seen some of the background information. It's in the slide deck. But we're now starting the process of engaging and with a variety of stakeholders. There's really, we've been working with the architect, looking at our enrollment, and we just felt like this is the time where we need to explore it. So in summary, certainly I'm not asking for a recommendation tonight. Heather, if you could slide up to the front here. But do want to call out a couple of things. We will be vetting this over the next several months. The intent is in March of 2023 is for us to make a formal decision on what our intent is. The purpose of tonight is to give you kind of like information connected to this formal launch of the process. We will be vetting both a traditional K-5 instructional model. We will also be looking at a, I would say, less traditional partner school model. I will say we will be collecting feedback on both. We do feel that the partner school model does provide us, the way I would describe it is depth and breadth and flexibility of programming. And I would say it's certainly not a driver, but it's an outcome. Typically, those types of learning environments are more efficient to run. They are. However, I do want to say we will be seeking feedback regarding both models. We will be problem solving connected to both models. And part of the vetting process includes a clear identification of community stakeholders. I call those out in the information you have. And then we will employ a variety of strategies to solicit and elicit input for a final decision. We will, throughout the process, be coming back to the board and sharing with you what we're learning. And I know as community representatives, as a school board, you'll also be sharing with us what you're learning. So I just wanted to formally, I think about a month ago, I said we would be following this kind of timeline. And so, Heather, I didn't know if you wanted to speak briefly about just the engagement process.
So we have a communication plan developed for our work over the next probably 6 months or so. And we've broken it out by the different stakeholders, one being staff, the other parents, community, and then also media, if we can grab a hold of them in these times. So we have a document that outlines our objectives and strategies for each of those categories. So for example, I know Dr. Mendoza outlined some of that in the memo, but for staff, we have a variety of strategies that we will employ to gather feedback and share information, such as we have the presentation that you've all seen. We will have regular principal meetings. We'll have monthly updates at our staff meetings that we can provide information to the principals to then provide to staff on a regular basis. We will have weekly teaching and learning and EARL review meetings where we're reviewing that feedback that we're gathering and problem solving. We will have voluntary staff meetings to share information but also problem solve. And then we'll have a Q&A posting that has ongoing questions and responses to those questions throughout the process. Staff will be able to submit questions through a Google form. We will have surveys to kind of gather information about what's most important to staff throughout this transition process or determination process. We will have video updates and potentially some podcasts. So those are some of the examples for staff. We also have strategies for the other groups as well, but just wanted to share some of those briefly with you. And if you have any questions, I can answer.
One more comment. I just want to say we feel very good about the quality of education we will deliver in either. So that is so important to say, because I know what we believe and what our approach is and how the team feels. In the end, we can't do both at once. So really, I just want to highlight that we feel good about either. We will be able to, we just feel like maybe the ceiling is a little bit higher on one option over the other. The reason that we're mentioning that now is I want our conversations with staff and community to be authentic. And if we were partial toward a model and we're saying we weren't, that's just not appropriate. People can see through that. I don't believe that we should do it that way. And it really comes off as disingenuous. And we have spent too much time working with our community and staff to try to build trust. And so, again, I want to be very clear. We are going to be presenting and talking and problem solving about both. But I've been through processes like this before, and inevitably at some point in a meeting, somebody will say, well, which one do you think? And if we're not honest about it, I just don't think that's the proper way to do it. So I just believe in complete transparency. We give both the proper attention it deserves. We vet both, collect the feedback, and then over time, our final decision will evolve. So I'm sorry I would have mentioned that earlier, but it was important for me to call that out. So, but I've been through major curriculum changes, massive boundary changes, and I think something like this, it's better if we're just honest on the front end, in the spirit of being transparent, but also objective. So at this point, happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple questions. So you listed some venues or ways that community or staff can give their feedback. Will those same opportunities be available to the community?
Yeah, so we have identified strategies for parents and then community members who may not be parents that have some of the same components, but not all of the same because we don't have access to them like we do our staff. So if I can share some examples for parents, if you'd like to hear that now.
I know I would.
So again, the presentation that we've all seen, focus groups organized with various parent organizations and groups across the district, our district newsletter, through emails, our website, social media. We've talked about having some Facebook Live events so we can answer real-time questions, and then that Q&A that we discussed with the staff as well, just so we can have updated answers to any questions that we're receiving throughout the process.
Okay, thank you.
And then the community part, we want to engage our villages, our 5 villages that we partner with, and they've been a tremendous help for us getting information out into the community throughout different initiatives in the past, like the last referendum that we had here at the high school. So we will be partnering with those individuals as well through a variety of ways. And then the media, we'll be pushing information out. The staff is slim with media these days, so we'll do our best in getting information out in that way as well.
Will we also be partnering with like the park district and the library? Because those, again, are services within our community that our families and community members use.
Yes, all of the municipalities in our community, and then also organizations like Mano a Mano. We have the Round Lake Area Exchange Club, Chamber of Commerce, BEST. So all of those regulars in our community will be touching base with as well.
Perfect. The other question I have is in regards to the presentation where it talks about the partner schools. When we saw the previous presentation, administration mentioned about having like the busing for our families. Because, again, if I have a student that's 5th and 6th, if we use that partner school model, I don't have the luxury of dropping my students off at one school. Is that still on the table?
Yeah, the presentation that we've linked in here is a shorter version because it's designed for our staff. So that's kind of what we're moving forward with. Staff deals with the students once they arrive at school. So the transportation piece that is the goal, is to have the shuttle model for the community. But since this presentation was designed for staff, we eliminated, in order to reduce it, we eliminated stuff that we felt maybe wasn't as critical to their understanding of the model, which is transportation, as an example.
But
And
they will have-
I made that call. I actually just asked them to provide a brief, it's like a briefer version for this level. But yes, that is still part of the plan.
I'm just curious, why wouldn't that be important to the staff? You don't think that? I think that if I'm a staff member, I think that would still be important.
It's not that it's unimportant. I think it's just a matter of trying to limit the number of slides that are in a presentation. We don't have as much time after school. A lot of these meetings will be voluntary for staff. And so we want to make sure we make, efficient use of their time. And yes, transportation is critical, period. But our staff doesn't interact with transportation in the same way parents do, right? So when the buses arrive at the school, they do have things they need to do with the students once they get there. But it's different from like, when am I dropping my students off at the bus stop?
So that slide would be in there when we were engaging parents, like that. We would put that one in. We're trying to make it unique to the stakeholders. Some of the slides are common, some might not be.
Yeah, I just didn't see that. I'm thinking, wait, do we take that
Nope.
off the table? Because in a community that has grown up on neighborhood schools, that's all we've known. As we've added. I remember when we didn't have Village and EC. I mean, that's just been our concept. So as you talk about partner schools, that is a key component.
Completely agree. It's, again, we're just trying to target staff with a shorter presentation.
I guess I didn't know this was the staff presentation.
I would recommend maybe considering having at least the alternative presentation being available to the staff, because you don't want them to think that we're holding anything back from them. And some of our staff are parents in the community, and some of our parents are going to ask the staff, hey, asking them about the transportation. And I would hate for our staff to be like, well, that wasn't in our community.
We'll provide both. I wrote that down already. It's kind of like when we had the abbreviated version of, I don't know if you remember, we did the student data updates. We had like the abbreviated version, then the full one. We can just, whatever we cover, we can just share both and make both available. So that's no problem.
So another quick question, sorry. I saw that, we're gonna have surveys to stakeholders, like for faculty and whatnot. Are we gonna have surveys for parents as well, or no?
potentially. I think part of this is we have a plan initially, and as we start to move through the process, we might open up other initiatives or strategies. With the staff, I think when we put the question is what's most important. So if through our focus groups with the staff, specific questions come out of that, and say we have 5 and we want to know like what target areas we want to focus on first, that might be a way that we decide to survey our staff. Like, of these 5, what's most important to you? Or maybe through the problem solving process, there are a few options available, and we want to get feedback from all of our staff on those options. It's another opportunity to survey. So we don't know exactly what those surveys will look like yet. We just want to list it there as an option. And yes, potentially with parents and other community members, we might employ that as well.
Additional questions?
I mean, for me, it's going to be seeing what our community comes back with. I mean, that's for me, that'll help drive that decision.
Hearing no additional questions, thank you very much for that. We definitely look forward to hearing a lot more as it comes forward. And now, properly in order, the fiscal 23 budget assumptions.
Okay, good evening again, board. So as we look at the budget assumptions, just a couple of navigational tools for you on the left-hand side of the budget assumption in those columns numbered 1 through 81. Those numbers correspond to the proposed additions that are listed. As we look at an overall budget picture, just a reminder that ESSER 3 funding, the district had received a confirmation that we would receive $17,102,394. Being fiscally responsible, we looked at those dollars, and some of those dollars, $12,900,000, are being transferred over into this year's budget. So as you look at our overall budget picture, we've used what was the best from last year and transitioned to the best of this year. So as we look at actual items that are in addition this year, line 23, language learner teacher, line 24, sped teachers, line 50, 2.0, kindergarten teachers at playback, and line 51, 2.0, middle school athletic director stipends. Those are items that have been at the board table, but due to the timing of this budget assumption presentation, we kind of caught up with what we've already presented and shared with you. As we look at lines 52 and 56. Those are items that are credits back to us for positions that were not filled, either due to attrition, due to shifting that need somewhere else, or due to placing an opportunity to strengthen instruction in another area. As we could look at line 53, temporary nursing assistant, line 54, teaching assistant, and line 78, nurse. Those are items we've had conversations at the board table and are in effect. Line 55, I'd like to bring to your attention, that is pending Board of Education approval. I received feedback that it would be helpful in the future on this document to highlight that. We certainly will do that within the document. We don't want to anticipate that the board may automatically approve that because it's listed here, but due to the timing of it, thought it would be important to capture that here at the table this evening so that you're able to see the budget picture as of October 17th. So with those new additions, in addition to our revenue position with the additional ESSER funds, we are sitting at a very positive budget position of $1,996,727, and this is one of many budget assumptions that we'll be bringing back to you within the next couple of board meetings. Any questions regarding any of the content or any aspects of the budget position?
No questions, but just to add, this was reviewed at the finance committee meeting. So we went over this in greater detail with Dr. Kibbins and Dr. Lamping. And as you heard Dr. Kibbins mention, we thought it'd be good, even though it is noted, like line 55, as Dr. Kibbins said, it does say pending BOE, but if we could have those highlighted, it's just an easier visual so that you know those are pending board approval, those positions.
I just want to say we put it on there. We are definitely not presumptuous. We just want you to be able to see like for lack of a better term, worst case scenario, like the true picture. So one of the things that I'll work on, this is probably my fault, is maybe we just don't present the budget assumption document until after the positions are current. That would actually eliminate that. That's not that hard to do. I just know for this cycle we haven't presented this in about 4 board meetings. So just to reiterate what Dr. Kimball said.
Yeah, I think, well, when the finance committee spoke, that we don't need to do that.
Okay.
As long as we highlight it and call it out, we're good.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that it's just called out better for the entire board. I don't want to wait.
Okay.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, thank you very much. Next up is our October review of our strategic plan monthly report. Great as always to see the colorations. Do you want to
not this time. We kind of went into detail during the last board meeting. I expect at the November meeting, our department leads will be providing a verbal update as well as what's in the packet. So we're happy to answer questions, but nothing specific to identify at this time.
Any questions from the board? one quick one, and it's just the theme A, goal 4, teaching and learning, responsible T&L. Continue to implement a comprehensive professional learning community model of school improvement. Had nothing under it. It was completely blank.
Yeah, so I review this all the time before it gets submitted. I think this one gets shifted over across the page and it got missed. So we are currently implementing professional learning communities. We have been for more than a decade. And so we continue to evaluate that process and make sure that we're doing the best we can. I actually think this one is probably blue. Since we have been doing it, we continue to do it, and we are in a continual improvement mode on it. I just think in my scanning, I missed it. So I apologize for that.
Thank you. Hearing no additional questions from the board. Next up is disposal of materials. Does the board have any questions in regards to the disposals? Hearing none, Dr. Rowland can take his 5-person sled into the backyard.
Actually, what do they do instead?
You asked the man a question.
Yeah, so this model is really kind of antiquated, and so they have much more updated sleds that they use now that allow them to get better leverage and learn how to use their entire body to hit through the man. So I believe that we are looking to donate this one potentially to the youth program here in town.
Thank you very much. And next up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
If we're going to donate something to, especially like our feeder programs, to which in turn helps our, the youth in our community that are our feeder programs, can we note that on your little sheet?
Yeah, we can. We're actually working through that process, so there will be a formal process to actually donate it. But we wanted to get it on the disposal sheet first before we move forward with the community organization. But in the future, I can point out that we would be looking to donate that.
Yeah, even if you just asterisk it, that's the intention.
Sure, absolutely. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Next up are contracts under 1,000. Looks like we had the one for Indian Hill for the Hispanic Heritage Assembly. Any questions in regards? Hearing none, we will then move on to public comment. And as always, members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes in all methods of communication. Electronic public comments will be accepted up until noon on the day of the scheduled regular meeting, and the public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, the electronic public comment will be provided to all board members in written form. A link to the electronic public comment form can be found online. We did not have any electronic public comment this week, but at this point we would open it up to any public comment here locally. Step on up. Please state your name and yep. Hold down the button so that we can hear you. Thank you.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Leticia Gomez. I'm just here to comment about our little ones moving once again. It's pretty sad that in 25 years we haven't been able to get our act together. We created the EEC. We voted many moons ago for this to have our kids there, and it was because we wanted them to have the same curriculum and to have the same projects across. From there, we were half day. We were happy with half day. We turned into a full day. We were moved to Plebiac, and now we're trying to move back in again. It's been over 25 years and we don't have room for them. And it's pretty sad to see after all these years as a parent, as a community member, that it's taking us so long to think about them. It's extremely frustrating and infuriating to me that they're going to be there for one more year, and then we're going to be, trying to figure out what we're doing with our new kids coming to kindergarten. So I just want to say that I would appreciate if we would really pay attention and think about this for them to have a forever home, to be able to move back, because you go generations back and you say, you talk to our community, some of us went to our local school, our home school. Some other children had to go to daycare, private daycare, some other, because we didn't have a program. Some other children, went to the EEC, and we have all these different stories. It's not like the rest of us that we can say, I grew up at Murphy, I went to McGee, they don't have that. So I just want to say, if we could really, when we're doing this, really think into the future, that we're not going to be moving them again in 8 years and 10 years, that we can find them a forever home. For our teachers too, that keep packing and moving around, it's a lot of work for them. People don't see how much they really pack in their rooms, and how much work they put into all of that. So I just want to say, once we are ready to move forward, if we could really think about this, maybe think outside of the box. I know that we probably don't have the finances, but just think out of the box. Maybe look at those private schools that buy empty buildings and they turn them into schools. Just try to find a home for our teachers and our students.
Thank you. I think we have a second commenter coming, so we're going to be patient here. No worries.
You had to hold it? Okay, so I'm Allie Garner. I'm from the Lake County Health Department. I'm the new practice manager over there. And I have France, who is our nurse practitioner at the school-based health system. She's here today. She's standing up. And then I also have Kathy, and she is our family planning women's health coordinator. So we are looking to partner with you guys even further.
Thank you. I will have Dr. Apgar reach out to you, and he's our liaison for health, so we'll definitely reach out to you because we absolutely want to partner with you. Okay? Ms. Gomez, I will be contacting you personally. I just wanted to let you know. Somebody will get back to you, okay? You're welcome.
Any additional public comment here locally? Hearing none, thank you very much. Love when we have public comment. Now, next up is our superintendent's report, and we will turn it over to Dr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Board President Francisco and Board of Education. I just want to call out donations recently made to Round Lake area schools. Hot bargain deals, school supplies and student prizes donated to Beach Elementary. Turk's Greenhouse donated a $100 gift certificate to the Round Lake High School Student Council for Homecoming. In the Walmart of Round Lake Beach, a $75 gift card to the Round Lake High School Student Council for Homecoming. Want to call out and recognize and thank our newest Round Lake High School athletic sponsor, Dave's Transmission. They have confirmed a blue level sponsorship. That's awesome. I drive past Dave's Transmission, I think, almost every day. Round Lake Area District 116 will be hosting its annual Hispanic Heritage Celebration on Friday, October 28th at the Round Lake Beach Cultural and Civic Center. Doors will open at 5:30 p.m. and performances will begin at 6 p.m. An invitation is at your table. Please confirm your attendance with Yanera if you have not done so already. For your convenience, we've also listed upcoming events, and that concludes the superintendent's report.
Dr. Mendoza, I'll just chime in also. I know on the upcoming events, it's impossible to list everything, but board, remember that we are hosting the IHSA soccer regionals tomorrow night for those two games, and then the championship game is on Saturday as well. So if you have the ability to make it, that's going to be great. It's a great opportunity for our community to be able to show off the facilities we have on a statewide level. Sorry to hijack that for you.
No, it's fine.
All right, next up then is committee reports, and we'll turn it over to the Finance Committee update.
Good evening. Yes, the Finance Committee met this evening. While it looks like an abbreviated agenda, it was quite full. And as you probably can see, there are some agenda items which I had spoke to regarding the budget assumptions that will be covered on the agenda this evening. So I will cover those that are not. The first one being the 2022-2023 large-scale project identification. Please note that the projects that are listed, hopefully you've reviewed, or please do review the Finance Committee packet. This is in no way everything that we need in the district. Again, this does not cover some of the projects that we speak to with, bringing those children back from Pleviac. So I'll speak to the ones that are on the agenda here. So first we have the beach classroom library build out. That we are using one of our new architects, Archon. That is going to be paid with ESSER 2 and fund balance. It is an anticipated cost of $2.3 million. We are waiting for the drawings that will come forward to the board. Once Archon is done, it will go to Dr. Center and her team to review, making sure there's equity within those drawings for those students. And then it'll come to the board for review. Again, that will have to go out for a bid process. Murphy, the concrete parking lot, that is on the docket for this summer. I know we did try to do that last summer, but waiting for the village to get everything through. It is on for this summer. That is being funded out of the fund balance. That is the anticipated cost of $800,000. The fire panel and sprinkle safety system for the warehouse, that will be out of life safety. Anticipated cost of $75,000. Again, this is the warehouse will be used to store vehicles. Warehouse build out, that we will use ESSER 3 and the O&M budget. That is a cost of about $70,000. Again, this is due to the growth in the district, more space needed for housing, equipment, and supplies, such as our vehicles, lawnmowers, and tools. Which again, the district has made an investment in some of those recently, and of course, we want to make sure we keep those in a safe and secure area. Fire alarm replacement, that will be out of life safety. That cost is unknown. And of course that will come, forward once we have that. The replacement for these are for Beach, Indian Hill, and Ellis Elementary School. Asphalt parking lot. In the memo, it does say Beach and Indian Hill. Please know there's a correction. It's Indian Hill and Round Lake Middle School. Obviously, with those two schools being adjacent, it's easier to put those two together to get a bid package and move that forward. Again, we don't have an anticipated cost, but that will be moving forward. Concrete curbs and sidewalks repairs, that is district-wide. Again, that is an anticipated cost of about $25,000, and there is an opportunity for a grant award. So we're hoping that, as with all our grants that we apply for, we hope that will come to fruition. The asphalt parking lot for the EEC, Village, and Round Lake High School. Again, anticipated grant award. And then, hold on, I gotta turn the page and let go of the button. PA system, anticipated cost $180,000. Again, in that grant award, and that would, we know there's some dead zones here in the high school with the PA system. That will help alleviate that. Master clock system, out of the O&M budget, anticipated cost of almost $100,000 will be a web-based system. It gets us out of some of our older systems that we have now, which will be great for the administration in those buildings. Magnetic door locks at the Round Lake High School, anticipated cost of $240,000. Again, the DLC grant award. Again, this will help alleviate those who are propping doors open. And then a roof replacement for the EEC, anticipated cost $525,000, and again, dependent on a grant. And I do want to call out the things that we spoke to regarding the EEC. Those are dependent as we're waiting on the grant opportunity from Dr. Center. Obviously, we wouldn't want to start any construction on that building that is mentioned here until we know the outcome of that. So I just wanted to call that out. Any questions on this list? Again, it is not holistic. These are just some of the items that we're trying to address currently. All right, the other items, the educational technology support aid request is later on the agenda, so I'll speak to that when we get to that item. Again, you heard the Organic Life presentation, and then we spoke to the levy 2022. Sorry, this I have on my phone. I don't have enough screens in front of me. As you know, we go out to levy. What we request is what we receive. Currently, we do 4.99%, in making sure that we capture all those financial opportunities to the district and not to do a disservice to ourselves. In speaking with the Finance Committee and Dr. Kivens and Dr. Lamping, the Finance Committee is supporting us going out to levy to request 5.10%. That will require a hearing that will come forward in December 9th. And as we do Dr. Kivens always says, we'll watch everything. We do have the opportunity as things progress, if the board decides not to move forward with that 5.1% before the December 19th hearing date.
Yeah, just to call this out, because, and this is not unique to us, and certainly it's the board's decision, but I do want to call out if a board decides to not levy what we're allowed to levy, it doesn't necessarily only affect that levy year, it compounds forever. So for example, if the board decided to levy less than what we're allowed to levy, and let's say that saved taxpayers $300,000 or whatever the number is, maybe that's too high, but whatever. The next year, it's the 300,000 times 2. The year after that, it's the 300,000. So it keeps compounding, and we can never recoup those dollars again. It's different than an abatement, which is in like the debt service fund. Those we can lower and then recoup later on. But on this one, it's just money that we won't be able to recoup in perpetuity moving forward. So I just want to call that out.
And again, as you heard Dr. Mendoza, the 5.10% was reached. Again, don't forget we're talking about also utilizing DSEB funding, as we talked about the grant opportunity, depending on that outcome with Dr. Center's team. And then, of course, we have existing district and CEDAL bonds. So again, 5.10%.
Yeah, and the last thing, just this is an FYI, because I always ask, well, what are the other districts doing? I think I've connected with at least between 12 and 14 districts, and the course that you've talked about is consistent with what I'm seeing in other school districts. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's kind of the position that is being taken. The reason it's an issue is because inflation is at 8% right now. We're a cap district. We can levy up to 5%. So that's what people are doing. Just wanted you to have all the information as a board.
And Finance Committee did ask that question in the conversation with Dr. Kivens. Again, not that we always want to follow suit what our neighboring districts do, but as you heard Dr. Mendoza speak to, inflation's at 8%, CPI, and just taking all those into factor, again, making sure we utilize every dollar that we can. As you saw, that project list is long, and that's not all of it. And that is it on the finance.
Any questions for finance? Hearing none, thank you very much for that very detailed report. And next up, I'll turn it over to you for some approval of open meeting minutes.
Right. I need a motion to approve the October 3rd, 2022 regular board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Larson, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the October 3rd, 2022 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Abstain.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the October 11th, 2022 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Abstain.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Abstain.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the October 11th, 2022 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Larson. Roll call, please.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Abstain.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Abstain.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the following items. The accounts payable report for $573,121.37. The previous motions report for $3,379,051.51. September 2022 Treasurers Report, September 2022 P-Card Report, October 17th, 2022 Employment Report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
On to old business. I need a motion to approve the contract with Conscious Campus for the public speaker at the Round Lake High School in the amount of $8,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the cheerleading choreography contract and all related documents in the amount of $1,800.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, that's going to bring us to new business, and the first up on the new business is the review of board positions on the IASB proposed resolutions. I know everybody got the actual reports at prior meetings, and I think everybody's got their cheat sheet in front of them. So I would open it up with any questions or conversations. We have the ISB recommendations, and I'll just put it out there. There's a couple that I could go either way on, but at this point, I would fully support ISB's recommendations on all 8 of them. But let's open up that conversation. And does anyone want to have a detailed conversation about any of them? If you do, please start with the number and let's start talking about it.
I want to discuss number 3.
Okay, and just as a recap, number 3 is firearm dealer location. ISB's recommendation is to do not adopt. The high level of that one is that it's asking, Mundelein is the one who submitted it. It's asking for support and advocacy to expand and amend legislation of the existing firearm dealer license certification to increase the distance a gun store or retail facility selling firearms and or ammunition may be located in relation to a school from 500 feet to 1,500 feet, so tripling the distance. And this is one of them that I can go either way on. Keep in mind that one of the reasons that ISB stated to do not adopt is a lot of it, the current ones would be grandfathered in, so it's not going to affect any of the current ones. It would only put that rationale on new locations.
I do understand that, and I understand that there are other actions that can be taken that are probably, effective or perhaps more effective, but I recommend we adopt it.
Okay, I guess at this point, let's have a roll call on that one as to recommend to either adopt or do not adopt.
So yes means no?
No, it's either adopt or do not adopt.
Are you doing a formal roll call vote or just like discussion?
Well, it's just, yeah, it's a discussion, so, but basically, everybody throw out where you're at.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear, it can only be discussion.
Right, it's a discussion.
We can't make a
Sorry.
formal roll call right now. It's
100%.
not
I
on the
apologize for
agenda
that.
as an action item, so you can discuss in your favor for, to support the recommendation or not.
I am also in favor of not supporting the recommendation by the.
Of not supporting it? Of not supporting, so, let's just go, again, I'm just asking, adopt the actual resolution or do not adopt the resolution. I think yours is, you would say you want to adopt the resolution.
Yes.
And Ms. Klingler, you're pretty clear on the adopt?
So you two are the same?
Yes.
Okay,
So now
thank you. I know.
Yes.
Hold on.
Every year we do this, not them.
Okay. And I'm with you, unfortunately, even though I fully understand that, I'm not there. So,
I'm the same as you and Scott.
okay.
It's up to you,
Okay, see, I'm with them, so we're deadlocked.
Okay, then we'll need to do a future agenda for this one. We'll need to bring this one back for an actual formal vote at the next board meeting when we have everyone here.
I like to make trouble, I'm sorry.
Well, let's get through the rest and see.
Yeah, exactly. Now, are there any others that we need to have this conversation on? Or does everyone else support IASB's recommendations on the rest? I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. Me is 5. Do you support ISB's on the rest? Okay, so then,
My notes here.
okay, no. Then what we will need to do is we're in full support of IASB on 7 of the 8. We just need to bring back number 3 to next meeting so that we can have an actual roll call on that one. Well, that was a lot less painful than I was expecting. Once we figured out how to talk, right.
That's why you need that 7th member.
All right, so we will move on, and now next up is approval of delegate and alternate for the 2022 Joint Annual Conference, Delegate Assembly. Scott, you were our delegate last time, right? Okay, perfect. I will say, Mr. DeVera already talked to me because he may not be at it. He wants to definitely be excluded from even being considered. So, and that makes perfect sense because if you're not there, it's hard to be the delegate. Does anybody have the burning desire outside of me to be the delegate?
Well, I was gonna just say, I don't know if Julie's interested, because she has not done
Right,
it. This is
exactly.
her second, not to put you on the spot, but
Not to put you on the spot, but
it's not just about the cool bag.
I also,
No, it is
I
real-
also only got to do it online. Right. The year we were
Okay,
online.
so
Okay,
that-
so there you go. There's two potential.
there's two right there. I like that. So who?
Julie, I would just say, I know you haven't done it, but if you're interested, being your mentor, I would be happy to.
And you're already going to be there. You don't have to look at your calendar because it's at Triple I. You're not stepping.
Do it. You can try it. You can have the bag this
Okay.
year.
Well, how about this? This is what I will do. Here's my recommendation. We will name Miss Lee as our delegate assembly delegate, and Miss Larson will be our alternate.
Can we get two bags?
Yes, you actually can. Because when you actually check in as the alternate, you get everything that the delegate gets.
Yeah, I didn't know it the year.
Okay, so now that we have selection, I need to make the motion here.
Yep, thank you.
All right, I need a motion to approve the delegate of Miss Julie Lee and the alternate of Mrs. Peg Larson for the 2022 Joint Annual Conference Delegate Assembly at the Triple I Joint Annual Conference Delegate Assembly for November 19th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Dewitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
And the motion carries. Congratulations, delegate and alternate. All right, next up is Winter Guard WGI competition.
So pre-pandemic was the last time we did get a chance to attend this, the WGI competition not technically in Flint, it's technically in Grand Blanc, but it is called the Flint, Michigan WGI competition. So we would like to send our Winter Guard again, knowing that they have moved up a class, they're the top class, and competing against some of the best in the nation.
All right, I need a motion to approve the varsity Winter Guard to take part in the WGI competition in Flint, Michigan from March 3rd through March 5th, 2023 at a cost of $2,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, it is, considering the last vote on this one from Mrs. Klingler. And roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Dewitt,
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, next up is our Ed Technology Support Aid.
Good evening. So we're coming with a request for 4 new positions. The position would be an educational technology support aide. This position will kind of fit a needed gap that sits between our LMAs, our library media assistants, and instructional technology specialists that kind of have other academic uses. They're coaches. The LMAs are working with kids on a regular basis. They have some instructional capacities, and also our technology staff that are responsible for working with our networks and other devices. As we've rolled out over 8,000 devices in the district over the last couple of years, we haven't increased staff to support that. And so what we're asking for this position is really a tier 1 support team for positions that would work alongside of our instructional technology team to help provide tier 1 support, which is generally, the first couple of steps: log in, log out, help restart the device, maybe log the kid out of our management system and back in, before we then have to move those devices onto the higher level. So our goal here is really to be able to provide a better point of service support for our teams. The cost, this is a 12-month position. We have identified a number of needs that fall within breaks, especially over summer break, that would keep this team busy, that would help us be more prepared and help our students return with operable devices. We had a lot of kids come back in August with devices that had been broken for a while. The overall cost is $280,057.76 for this position. Are there any questions?
Just a comment. This has been a need probably for 18 months, but credit to Dr. Center and Dr. Rowing and Dr. Steffen and the team. Basically, we tried to separate those roles within multiple positions. We had the LMAs doing some of it. We had the instructional tech doing some of it. But one of the things I want to call out specifically at the elementary, the LMAs are responsible for running specials. That's a big deal because that's when the teachers get their planning time. So they're trying to picture this. They're trying to run their specials. So they have a group of kids in the library. And then all of a sudden 3 kids come down and say, I can't log into my device. That's an oversimplification. So I give them credit. I would have thought I think I asked them, why did you wait so long? But I think this is proper. And if you look at the total number of devices we've deployed, we got to support the devices. So it's not funded with ESSER. We did not want to use grant money to fund something that we think will be a reoccurring expenditure. And the budget assumption doc, these are reflected in there. So we're at about a $2 million positive balance with these factored in. So I just wanted to call that out. Sorry, Ms. McGinley, I didn't know if you had any.
No, you took all my questions. We presented it fine. No, it's all good. The only other thing to point out, and just make sure that you heard Dr. Rowling, because again, when we saw the LMA position, those are not year-round positions. If this case anybody doesn't know, but these are year-round positions. But Dr. Mendoza spoke, it's not ESSER and everything that he spoke to. We just had asked for them to report back on how these positions are flourishing.
Yeah, so we will definitely come back in the spring. This is a totally new model, totally new team. So it'll take us a little bit of time to figure out really what that proper delivery model is and how that's working. But as we move into the spring, we can definitely bring some information back on how this process is working out.
And you're not looking for approval tonight. Approval will be at the next meeting, correct?
That is correct.
Any additional questions? Sounds good to me. Hearing none, thank you very much. And we will now move on to positive occurrences.
I was just gonna, I know Mr. Francis could talk about soccer tomorrow with the regional game, but those who've attended the football games, I just wanted to call out State Bank of the Lakes because they've been coming to the games. I know they're one of our sponsors, but they've been helping in the concession stand. So just appreciate them coming out and helping in the concession stand. I know they have a hard time getting volunteers and people to come in and help. So I know it's been appreciated by the boosters.
Hey, I've got a question. If you wanted to volunteer at the concessions, who would you talk to?
Tanya McCain,
yes.
Tanya McCain of the Round Lake Athletic Boosters.
So I think you just signed yourself up.
I just sent her a text with your name and phone number, so you're good. We can. Yeah. I'll just chime in. Positive occurrence. I was able to go to the NLCC cross country conference meet, which was held at Central Park in Grays Lake. Central wants to say that they were the host, but I still say they and North both co-hosted it because it's the same course. But it was a great time, great event. Our boys came in fourth. I can't remember where the girls came in, but we had a ton of personal records at it. And it was a lot colder than it had been, so it was a big adjustment for the runners. So, but we're starting to see the fall seasons. I know cross country is going to regional on Saturday, so they're down to just the varsity, and we're starting to see the soccer is going into the state tournament, and football is wrapping up, and volleyball is where it's at. So we're just starting to see that natural occurrence, and we're going to start seeing the winter sports. November 7th is when the winter sports kick in.
Just to add, this Friday is senior night for the football game. And then, did we say soccer is conference champs? Did we add that? Okay. See, so I don't eat before meetings.
And if I remember, three-time repeat conference champ, technically.
I think.
Yes, it is 3.
Yeah. So back to back to back. And then also Hispanic Heritage Celebration. Remind me the date on that one.
28th.
28th. That's going to be a great event. I'm already signed up for it because I'm loving that we're back live and able to see that in person. So definitely looking forward to that one as well. You can tell she wants that tail. She wants that caboose.
So I got the opportunity last Wednesday to go in and with an interview with the students in the new civics class. I thought that was really, they are working on a project. They're working on multiple projects, but one of the projects they are trying to see if some sort of school closet or some sort of school resource that they can create. So they are interviewing community stakeholders to try to assess what's the best way to do that. And it was just so much fun to be called in, and the students asked phenomenal questions, and it was a blast. It was a blast. So.
Ms. Larson? I'm just trying to drag it out now.
Generally,
Ms. Lee?
I mean, I'm excited parent-teacher conferences can be in person again, although I'm doing mine virtually on Zoom, but.
I'm going to throw gum at both.
I was actually going to say, I'm excited that we have the opportunity to have them virtually, because I still think we're opening up more doors by allowing us to have the virtual options in addition to the in-person option. So thank you to everyone for having that flexibility and that ability to adjust, and some of the things that we had to do during the pandemic are still good things to do after the pandemic.
And thank you, Tech, for helping everything.
Yeah, no, again, that's important that we had to reset the world in order for people to realize that. All right, the caboose is all yours now.
Okay, so the band did go and compete in Naperville, and I thought they did one of their best shows ever. Actually, I was really proud of them. Their show this year is a little bit more complex, I think, than it has been in the last few years. So they really added a lot to it, and I just thought they really improved. They didn't place, but they really represented the school well, so I was very proud of them. The other thing, and this is super cool, is Bonnie, our custodian that is in our school, Bonnie. Her daughter just went and secured for us a donation of, it's so random, a York, what is it? Yorkie? French bull, excuse me. Frenchie animal that is purebred and actually is about valued at about $5,000 for Ella's school to use as a what do you call it?
You're pulling me on this
I know,
conversation.
come on. A therapy dog. So she's actually out there with it. So if you guys are interested in going to see the puppies, you certainly can. So she just told me about this before the meeting and was very excited. So just so you guys know.
It's awesome. I have a couple.
Now,
I just
I'll
wanna-
just
I
also
just-
throw what you bury the lead on band. They are going to Champaign on Saturday for the Illinois competition.
So, want to recognize the board for their governance award that you received last week. I think they said 18 boards in the entire state. There's over 800 school districts. That's pretty good. That's really good. So just want to personally thank you on behalf of the team for your commitment to the process of governance and helping to lead the school district. So just wanted to call that out. We are going to be receiving, we were asked, which just hasn't happened since I've been here, but the state superintendent emailed me her office and she wants to come out and visit. I will get that date to you. And it's open-ended. I asked what she wanted to see. She said anything that you're proud of. It'll only be 90 minutes and it'll be in December. And then also want to call out the work that the team put forth for the early childhood construction grant. We hit the send buttons. We've submitted. I won't mention the foundation, but we did receive a commitment, contingent upon receiving the grant, that that they would help fund it with a sizable donation, and I got it in writing. And then I would also say that foundation, coupled with another one, actually was spent probably 3 hours in this high school on Friday morning, and they took a tour. They saw 3 of our programs. Susan, the team, Lisa, Kurt, Heather. Who'd I miss that was in here? And then Brian and Dan Nicholas. Brian, the principal, did a really good job representing, and so did our teachers. Our teachers were incredible. So just pretty special to be able to do that for a community organization, 2 different foundations. And a third one was here leading the charge. Sherry Richardson from the Gorder Foundation was here. So she's one of our favorites, and we're one of hers, by the way. So just 3 positive occurrences.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up is future agenda items. Anybody
Mr.
have-
Francisco, just letting you know on that one board, by Wednesday you'll have an email with options for the regional safe schools visit.
Thank you.
Just know you asked about that.
Any additional future agenda items? Hearing none, next up is some approval of closed session minutes.
I need a motion to approve the August 15th, 2022 closed session regular board meeting minutes.
So
moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the August 29th, 2022 closed session special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes.
Motion carries. All right, next up, we're going to convene in closed. So I need a motion to convene in closed session as permitted by statute 5 ILCS 120/2 for the purpose of discussing the following. Employment Matters, 5 ILCS 120/2C1. Real Estate Matters, 5 ILCS 120/2C5. And Closed Meeting Minutes, 5 ILCS 120/2C21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler.
Yes.
Motion carries, and we will next be in closed session. So everyone online, thank you for attending. Everyone here, thank you for attending. Have a great rest of this evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.